Hi, I'm Dr. Boyce Watkins from Your Black World, and some of you saw this week that Rihanna came out in this see-through dress, which is no surprise for Rihanna because Rihanna's usually like pretty naked most of the time when she goes out in public. And you saw that there was a mixed response. There were some people who were congratulating her on, on you work it, girl, do your thing, and she's up here twerking and all this stuff. And then there were some people who were like, wait a minute, like this is too much. Your role model, TLC, actually jumped into the fray. And T-Boz and Chili were like, look, every time I see you, you ain't got to be naked. We were able to sell records without taking our clothes off. And so, I wanted to kind of get a take on this. And so I reached out to a person that I respect so much, Miss Lanee Javet, who is the founder of Culsire.com, which is this amazing portal and hub for everything black. Everything black in the site, CULSIRE.com, mixture of the words culture and desire. And first I want to ask Lanee, how are you doing today?
I'm doing good, Dr. Boyce Watkins.
I'm doing really well, really well. Now, you and I were talking before, and you seem to have a pretty passionate point of view on this. When you heard what Chili and T-Boz said, now, a lot of people said, oh, you're haters. You're mad because she's young and you're old. She's hot, you're not. She's now, you're yesterday. So you're just hating. Is that what you felt? I mean, did you feel that they were kind of out of line of their criticism, or do you think that they were right to kind of speak up on this?
I think that they were right to speak up on it. I think more of us are speaking up on things that we see. I myself personally, when I first saw it, my initial response was, wow, that's a nice dress. I can't believe she did it. Then my second response was, if you got it, flaunt it. That's the next thing you think, because you don't want to feel like you're being a hater. Like, if you got it, flaunt it. But then my third thought was, she's a role model. And she has women, not even women. She has young girls, 13 and up, looking to her. And to step out with your body hanging out, I just thought it was a bit much. When you have, even if you didn't ask to be a role model, you pursued, fame. You pursued being a celebrity. So you have people that look up to you, people that follow you. And you do have a responsibility to, carry yourself as such. There's too many young black girls with identity crisis right now that are looking to someone or looking to figure out who they are. And that's what they saw. That's what they're going to mimic. And so from that angle, I thought it was a bit much. I don't think that enough people speak out when celebrities have these types of, when they want to be outlandish. I saw a report where they were comparing her Lopez. Jennifer Lopez wore that green dress. Remember that a couple years ago with Diddy to that awards? And they're just talking about how she's a fashion icon. She pushed the limit, but she still kept it classy. And I think that I don't think there's a fine line between pushing the limits and being classy. I think that you can be classy and sexy and still be a fashion icon. You don't have to be tacky as well.
Well, I agree. And it seems to me that there is that very subtle line between edgy and tacky, right? You can be edgy and classy, or you can just sort of go overboard, and next thing you know, you're Little Kim, right? And so, and really, and it's funny because, one time I was having a conversation with my daughter about that, and I said, look at Little Kim and Beyonce. I said, here you have two women that are both very, they appeal to a man's sexuality. Both of them sell sex in their own way, or whatever the case may be. Now, mind you, this was before Beyonce really started competing with Rihanna recently. I think that's why she's kind of really pushed it further than she normally would. I think there's a competition there, but that's just my theory. But I'm talking about maybe 5 years ago when Beyonce was as sexy as she wanted to be, as desirable as any woman out here, as hot and as physically appealing as any porn star, anything that a man might desire. But at the same time, there was something about her that still remained very, very classy. Even to this day, I'd say she's still in that category, right? Just something about her composure. Something that makes her the kind of woman where she could say, put a ring on it, and men will be like, okay, yes, ma'am, right? Little Kim says put a ring on it. A lot of guys are like, why would I do that, right? Now, I'm not saying it's right or wrong. I'm not saying that at all. I'm just saying, because Little Kim, it's not like put a ring on it. It's like I'll put a dollar bill on it. You know what I mean? Like that kind of thing. And so it doesn't mean that it's necessarily bad or that it's not their right to express themselves in that way. But it seems like there's a line, and I think that men. I've always felt as a man, there's a line too, right? A man has to be sweet, sensitive, loving, and romantic. but he can't be too soft, right? Because if he's too soft, then he's going to be judged a certain way. It's not fair. It's wrong, but it's life, right? Men want to know, or women want to know that you're capable of compassion, but you're not a big wuss, right? And so maybe it's the same thing with women. I mean, it's a thin line though. And so I don't know. I have to, for the sake of full disclosure, I told you before, but other people don't know this. T-Boz is actually my cousin, but we're not like close cousins. Like I haven't even met her, but our grandfathers are brothers, and so that's kind of kept me up with her career, and I've been so inspired by her accomplishments. But even if I wasn't related on any level, I would still kind of agree a little bit. I think it's, in a way, it's not to say that Rihanna doesn't have a right to sell whatever she wants to sell, to do what she wants to do, but there is something cool about the fact that TLC can say, we sold more records than you, or just as many records, and we kept our clothes on most of the time. Or if we got sexy, it was a classy sexy. It wasn't like, let me see how much more I can strip off of my body in order to get your attention. Which ultimately, it seems to me, now you can tell me if I'm wrong, it almost seems like it can get to the point where it's almost desperate. Like you run out of things that you can take off, right?
Yeah, I think that's the angle that the media is coming from. They're saying it's a desperate attempt. Look at me, look at me. And I think in her response, I think on Twitter they were saying that she put a picture up of where T-Boz, she's topless, but she has hands over her. Almost the same picture that Janet Jackson did a while ago. But that's artistic. It's still not your nipples out. I mean, it's still not your boobs hanging out. It's still art. You're showing bare skin, hands over. That's not naked. I don't know what your areola looks like. I think that every time Rihanna comes out, she's doing something different and something more. She's pushing the edge. And I just don't feel like we don't require our celebrities or the people that we quote unquote put on a pedestal to have any responsibility to our community or to our kids or with their messaging. When you speak about Beyonce, I have loved Beyonce since she first came out. Her first 2, 3, 4 albums I have. This last album, I don't have it. I don't know any songs off of it. It was just way past my level of comfort. Now, do I necessarily think she's competing with Rihanna? I won't say that I think she's competing with Rihanna. I would say that Beyonce is growing up. She's getting older. She's a wife. She's experiencing with her sexuality. And she's expressing those things. That's kind of where I think she's taken it and why she's become so sexual. But I'm not comfortable in that. If I had a daughter, I wouldn't let my daughter listen to that. I think that's grown-up music. I think that's grown woman music at this point. And the way that we sensationalize music now, I mean, I can't even, I can barely ride in the car and let my son listen to music now because they're talking about move your panties to the side. And I mean, music has just gotten so nasty and tacky that people think it's okay to show up to the awards naked.
Interesting. Well, it is funny that when you talk about this whole lack of accountability thing, I figured out what the strategy is. The strategy to keep people from speaking up is to call you a hater or something like that, right? That's what we do in the black community. If somebody gives a critique of anything, it's like, oh, well, you're just a hater, right? And when you do that, you're shaming that person into silence, right? It's really very similar to that whole stop snitching thing that they do in some communities where, a little girl gets shot on the street and nobody says anything because nobody wants to be a snitch. You're intimidating people into silence, and I think that we do the same thing when it comes to community responsibility for our celebrities who are role models, whether they want to be or not. I was just so inspired by the interview TLC gave 20 years ago, and people can see it. I think it's on blacklifemoir.com, where they're literally saying this was right when they became the best-selling female group in history, and they spent a lot of time saying, whether we want to be or not, we're role models. Little girls are looking up to us. We take that responsibility seriously, and I just can't understand why that's become such a ridiculous, old-fashioned, pathetic thing to say now. Instead, the hip thing to say is, I don't give a shit about anybody but me. I want to make my money, and that's all that matters. What is wrong with these people? I mean, and then you go deeper into, the role model thing. It's really interesting to me, too, when, again, with respect to the fact that anybody can do what they want to do for the most part, as long as you're not hurting another person. I wonder if I can't if I can't critique what a person decides to wear in public, then it seems to me that you also can't critique how people interpret that, right? So if I go out and or anybody, male or female, if I'm attracting you with body parts, and the first thing you get to know about me is, you know, my boobs and my booty, or I know it sounds silly with me saying it, but or you know me for 30 seconds, and you're 2 inches away from the person's vagina. Can you get upset when that person pretty much only sees you as a one-dimensional sex object, right? Because you've advertised the very best of yourself at the very beginning. You haven't made them work for anything. And so to me, and this is the way I talk to my daughters about it without trying to sound, overbearing or trying to control them. But I tell them, I say, well, if you advertise your sexuality to a man before he gets to know you as a person, and then you put the cart in front of the horse and you say, okay, now that you know me sexually, I want you to know me intellectually and spiritually and all these other things. I said, that's a little bit like, giving a baby ice cream and then asking him to eat his vegetables. After he's had the ice cream, he ain't going to want the green beans and the corn. He wants more ice cream. And if you don't give it to him, he's going to go to somebody else who's going to give him some ice cream, right? So I don't know. Tell me, am I crazy? Am I just out of my mind here?
It's the world we live in. I think we can back that up, though. I think because I would say it comes from our world, too. I mean, I'm 37. I'm 37, and I know we put the cart before the horse when we were coming up, but it wasn't the way it is now. I mean, I think I remember in my youth fighting those demons of doing things backwards, maybe moving too fast and then saying, like me, respect me after the fact. But it was more, I would say in our peers. Now it's being stuffed down people's throats. It's in the music. It's in the videos. It's on TV. It's not cable. This is regular ABC, NBC, regular TV. It's being stuffed down our throats now. And I think that plays a large role in why people are so over-sexualized and sexuality is so sensationalized, is because it's everywhere. So we're quicker to be sexual than we are to be relational. We're quicker to be sexual than we are to be ourselves and let a person get to know us. Because that's what we see. That's what we think is cool. That's what's on the video. That's what Rihanna is doing. She's out there showing all her goods, right? And she's famous. So it must be okay if I do it.
Well, it's so funny. It makes me think about Larry Fishburne's daughter, Montana Fishburne, who, she said that she decided to go into porn because Kim Kardashian had advised her that getting a sex tape would make her famous. And unfortunately, Montana found out that making a sex tape and going into porn makes you a porn star. And so that maybe for black women, it's not as easy to make that transition over. So now, from what I understand, I think Montana, after doing 2 or 3 years of going really hard into the industry, has backed out of the industry and is now advising young girls not to make that same mistake. And so, I don't know. Again, it's hard to have that conversation without telling people what to do. I mean, as a man, it's a sensitive thing, right? You want to respect someone's right to free expression, but I say, well, if a person has a right to free expression, then everyone else has a right to free interpretation. So I can't come at you and just do whatever I want and behave however I want and show whatever I want and present whatever I want, and then get upset with you for seeing me in a certain way. I just don't think that's, so I would just say that I guess Rihanna has a right to be who she wants to be. It sounds like she's kind of trying to do the Black Madonna thing. Like, it seems like Madonna was also like, I'm going to be defiant. I'm going to dress how I want. I'm going to do what I want. Okay, that's fine. And that's one style of entertainment. That's not all of entertainment. Not a lot of artists are doing that. But it is interesting to me, though, when I really look around and you compare, let's say you look at Rihanna and the Rihanna / hip hop space, where you got this kind of merger between hip hop and this other kind of music, which isn't really R&B. Like, Rihanna kind of does stuff with rappers, and she's kind of in that whole, like, go to the club, pop bottles, take mollies, get drunk, whatever, all that shit that they talk about on the radio now. It's funny, when I look at other genres, when I look over into what white people are singing about, I see a mixture, a variety of things. I might see sex thrown in there, but I'll see a lot of things. I'll see love thrown in there. I'll see all the whole gamut of the human experience reflected in music, Whereas in the hip-hop culture, which I think Rihanna's kind of part of that because she's done so much stuff with rappers. She was introduced to the world by a rapper. With hip-hop culture, it's a very consistent message, and it's almost so consistent to the point where you wonder, okay, who's the puppet master behind this? Are they deliberately trying to make sure they feed us the very same message over and over again so that it does affect who we are and who we choose to be? Because anybody who thinks that this stuff isn't influential and doesn't change our children is absolutely crazy. In fact, Hitler actually said that if you want to control the future, you control the children. You control the minds of the children. And you look at the black community, the minds of our children are being controlled by what's coming out on that radio. And I don't know how I feel about my kids looking up to Rihanna. I'll let you get the last word.
I think that's what it comes back to. As an individual and or parents, when you look at something and you're judging it or you're trying to decide if it's something you like or you agree with or you don't agree with, are you okay with your child doing it? That's how you'll know if it's something that you're okay with. Would you let your daughter walk out the house like that? And a lot of people will come back and say, well, Rihanna's grown. Okay, fine. As an adult, yes, that's true. But your daughter is 16 years old and she's looking to Rihanna. And she wants to wear that same dress that Rihanna wore out the house. Are you okay with that? Because if you're okay with that, then you're okay with Rihanna wearing, then you're okay with what has transpired. Yes, Rihanna is an adult. I'm not discounting that. I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with an adult being an adult. Well, all I'm saying is that there has to be some type of accountability in our community. We finance Rihanna. We pay for her concerts. We pay for her to be a celebrity, to wear that dress. So there has to be some accountability and some responsibility to the community. And us as individuals and parents and people that support her, we have to hold her accountable. We have to hold her accountable for the messaging that she delivers to our children, and we have to hold ourselves accountable for the messaging that we let our children receive, whether it is through her music or her imagery. Mm-hmm. So that's a good way to decide, what you're okay with, what you're not okay with. We as adults, we can say that's a bad dress. I'd wear that dress. I bet you would if you could. But would you let your child step out in that dress? Because that's what you're showing her.
And that's saying a lot, given that if I'm not mistaken, I think Rihanna was recently signed to some deal where she was going to be doing voiceovers in a cartoon, and she's doing other projects that show she's clearly being marketed to young girls who are looking to her as models of womanhood. And I agree with you. I think that it's one thing to enjoy seeing Rihanna dressed as a grown woman might want to dress, but it's another thing to look at your little girl and say, do I want her to think that this is what she should do when she gets out into the world? I don't know what the answer to that is. Well, thank you, Lanee. I really appreciate your time.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Oh, absolutely. This is always fun. And thank you, everybody, for checking us out. I'm Dr. Boyce Watkins from Your Black World. This is Lanee Javet from Culsire.com, Culsire.com. It's a mixture of the words culture and desire smashed together. And it's an amazing website, and I encourage you to go check it out. Until we meet again, please stay strong, be blessed, and be educated. We are gone. Peace.